and the Ad Council.
Calling virtual runners of all ages, the 11th annual Girls on the Run virtual 5K Run Walk event is Saturday, May 15th. The in-person 5K will be a closed event for girls, running buddies, and coaches, but you can support the girls by joining the virtual 5K, presented by Altman Health Foundation, including our Star Power sponsor, AEP Ohio, and Girl Power sponsors, WHBC, Mix 94.1, and Gregory Industries. Log on to gotreco.org.
Good morning.
All right.
This is going to be a new era for the morning show.
What are you talking about?
What does that even mean?
You know.
It's a new era.
You know.
Taking it to the next level.
Yeah, it's time to take it to the next level.
And why would you do that?
There are going to be some great parties.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the weekend.
All right, then. Let's get this party started.
Good morning. It's Saturday morning. David Held here on 1480 WHBC. And, there's a lot of money, a lot of federal government money that's being given out. And we're talking trillions and trillions of dollars. And municipalities, counties, and the villages, they're all getting equivalent to 1 year's worth of budget money. But there is one political subdivision, the townships in Ohio. They're being left out. And so fortunately, we've got Mark Schafer. Mark is a Canton Township trustee, and he's joining us this morning. Mark, how are you this morning?
Good morning, David. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, how do you like this? This is cool. We've got this for you're our first guest that I've had on the program where we can see each other. I mean, technology at its finest.
Impressive and much better than a telephone. I give it an A+ for sure.
All right. And so, we gave out our first award here this morning to Lauren Bricker for her positive attitude, overcoming adversity, the Teflon Coating Award, right?
Yeah.
She was the first recipient. And normally I would say when you have problems, don't let it stick. But in this case, I'm glad you let those things stick because it drove you and the other township trustees. I know Scott Haas, he was leading the charge also. Plain Township trustee, you guys were working to get money back that you didn't get.
You're right, David. To give the listeners a little bit of a view on how township government works, we have an association, the Stark County Township Association. I have the pleasure of being elected president of that. It represents 17 townships, which is inclusive of all of Stark County's townships. All of the elected officials are members, the township trustees, and 3 per township, and the fiscal officers of the townships. And I can tell you, this is an item that's near and dear to our heart. The officers that I do want to credit, that work with me, Scott Haas, Doug Baum, and also Dan Moore out in Lexington. We all do a great job to represent all the townships. And this particular item is hot and heavy and top of the list for right now.
So tell us where you're at. I mean, you're looking at, what are you hopeful to gain?
So, David, where we're at with the American Rescue Plan Act is, and just a refresh for any listeners that aren't aware, at this point in time, money is not being allocated directly to the townships because of some wording language and interpretation issues in the way the U.S. Census and some other federal items, how they stipulate township government as a local government entity. So there's a pot of money that's out there, and I just kind of want to lay this out. This is a couple of numbers, but for the folks listening, this is right in your backyard. This is very important, the dollars that are being put out there. So just follow along just for a second, even if you don't like numbers.
No, let's hear it. There's a lot of money being given out.
There sure is. So there's 4 pots of money that's coming from the federal government, and the formula to get the money to the states was the same, even Steven across the board. However, when it gets down into the definition of the local governments, that's where we've got a problem and why the townships are asking for some help here. So $5.6 billion is coming to the state pot of money. And that's going to be for the state to use.
Okay, let's say that again.
$5.6 billion. Ohio, the state of Ohio will get $5.6 billion out of the American Rescue Plan Act. $2.2 billion are coming to entitlement cities. So they will receive 2.2 billion with a B in Ohio are coming to entitlement cities. 2.2 billions coming to counties. And then 815 million is the fourth pot. That's what we're talking about here for Canton Township and for all the townships. There's 1,308 townships across Ohio. We're talking about the 815 million, and that is what is earmarked for all of the rest of the forms of government in the state of Ohio. And there's another 200 million that's going to head to state capital projects as part of this. So back to your original comment and why every single resident in our townships, and remember, David, our townships, and especially in Stark County, Ohio, comprise the majority of the residents. So your tax dollars that should be coming back home right now are not, because this money is not earmarked to come directly back to the townships. We've got all of our Washington representatives that represent us in Washington. They all have said, hey, you know what? We agree with the townships. They deserve this money, and it should come in. And Janet Yellen is the Secretary of Treasury, and she has the power to make some discretionary call on this. And where we're at is on Monday, this coming Monday, Janet Yellen will decide. First off, she'll issue the guidance on how to use this money for all the money that's coming to all the states. Secondarily, she will have a discretionary call to make as to whether the townships in the state of Ohio will receive this money or not. And at that point in time, that's where we become very interested in what the decision is going to be. If the money comes directly to us, then that's great. There's still work to do because we need to clean up the language that caused this mess in the first place. If the money does not come to us, then the folks in Columbus should be ready to have their phone lines hot and heavy, because there'll be a lot of phone calls coming down for some recursory requests for money to be budgeted to the townships, the same amounts through the state budgeting process, since they are going to be receiving the money in the first place.
So what kind of feedback are you getting right now? Do you expect, are you hopeful? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30? Or is this like a Hail Mary pass for you?
I would place it at a strong, it's a 50-50. And the only reason why I say that is we're waiting to the last minute. Secretary Yellen had 60 days from the point where this bill was signed, where this act was signed, to make the decision. Monday or Tuesday, I believe Tuesday is the end of the 60 days. Monday is the decision. Why I'm 50-50 on this, David, is number one, I would have thought this would be such a simple decision that the decision would have already been made. It just seems so logical. We're a government. We're local. We're as local as you get. And if anyone can use the money to impact the folks out there in the population, it's your local government. My inclination is that we've had so much support from literally every legislator across the board, whether it's in Columbus or Washington. They've bombarded Janet Yellen with letters of support saying, hey, make this right for the townships. It's also impacted a couple other states. There are other states that have the township form of government that they're going to be directly funded. It's just a matter of verbiage. So, fair is fair. Send the money. We'll make good use of it and impact the residents properly.
Unbelievable. So you look at the city of Canton is going to be getting like in the $66 million. I know North Canton is between $3 million and $6 million. You have the Stark County.
Yes.
I know they're getting like two payments because they're all coming in two installments, right?
Sure. Let's break this down. So I know most residents don't probably follow their local government budget, but let me break it down for a Canton Township example. Canton Township's the fifth largest out of the 17 townships. We have about a $8 million budget per year, 7.5 or so. And so to break this down, what we're talking about is if the way the formula works is for the 815 million pot, we would be receiving 75% of our annual budget as of January 2020. Okay, so we are due to receive for Canton Township, just little old Canton Township, 14,000 residents. We would be due to receive about $5 million, and that would be broken down half this year and half next year. So we would get 2.5 million this year, 2.5 million next year, roughly. And so that's just Canton Township. You're talking about, we've got Jackson Township and Plain Township, who are two of the very largest townships, really outpace most cities. in all of Ohio, and those townships have a great deal of money that's that's possibly coming to them based on their budgets as well. So, and again, I just to break this down for the residents, your local government we're the folks that know where the money's needed the quickest, the soonest, and how we can best impact residents. We've got the most direct contact with our residents and our businesses. We know how the money can be spent. We just need it, and we need the right thing to be done. And hopefully Monday, Janet Yellen will make the right call.
Now, have you heard from Janet Yellen's office?
We have not. We have literally sent. I can't tell you the number of letters and correspondence and phone calls we've made collectively as an organization, the Stark County Township Association, individual townships, the Ohio Township Association. We also have the National Association of Towns and Townships, so many other associations that are government related on our behalf. The Auditors Association, just tons of them have written. We have heard from all of our local Washington representatives. We've heard back; they're all positive support from us. We have not heard anything out of Janet Yellen's office. And the most inclination we got was, "Hey, the decision will be made Monday, and be ready to hear it." But nothing directly.
Now, have you heard from like any of the representatives that may have heard from her, or do you know that she's reading the letters, or her staff is reading the letters, or is that just you just don't?
We know that they're reading the letters, and I know that just an informal conversation, and nothing on record per se. That there's definitely been correspondence read and received and dialogue, but again, no showing of the hand, so to speak.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, it's very, you really have a handle on the numbers, and you're really looking out for this. And I think it's a hard thing. Oftentimes when you're talking about numbers, when you're talking about, federal dollars, people will throw around trillions of dollars, billions of dollars, millions of dollars. And it really, it's like, what does it mean to us? So just to give the listeners an example, when you're talking about the amount of money that you're expecting to get in Canton Township alone, give us, tell us the amount again, and tell us what that would translate to.
We operate on, like I said, depending on who all pays their property taxes, because remember, townships are generally funded mostly through property taxes. We operate on $7.5 to $8 million. That's our budget. It's what we appropriate annually to operate Canton Township. That's everything that goes on in Canton Township, and that includes levies and everything else. So we would receive potentially $5 million, again, split in half this year, 2.5, and next year, $2.5 million, which is just an unbelievably sizable amount of money. We, as reference, the CARES Act money that we made great use of was about $665,000 that we received at the start of last, as the pandemic was rolling around, towards the middle of last year, towards, maybe September-ish. We utilized that money very well for all kinds of things. Just not to go back.
Let's say road paving. Like, how much do you normally spend on road paving each year?
So this year we would spend, our budget is about $700,000 that we're going to invest in road paving. And so if the guidance says that we can utilize this money for road paving, we'd have $2.5 million this year and $2.5 million next year, and our budget for road paving is $700,000. Could you imagine the miles of road if that would be one of the permitted items? A ambulance costs upwards of $400,000. A new fire engine costs $800,000. In all of these townships, David, as you know, as well as the cities and whatnot, there is a litany of things that need to be replaced, items that we can do for businesses and for residents. There's just an endless list of things that this money can be spent on wisely. And each township would work with their residents and their businesses, and obviously their own internal staff to make sure the money's spent well. But to give you that perspective, $700,000 in road paving this year equates to about 3.5 miles of road for Canton Township. $2.5 million extra this year, $2.5 million extra next year from the American Rescue Plan. If we'd be allowed to use it for road paving and other stuff, the things that could be done locally, people in our county would see it with their own eyes quickly.
It's and Mark, I got to tell you, I really hope this works out just for the residents of Stark County, because again, what's the percentage? We have what's the total percentage of township residents in the county as compared to the municipalities?
Last time I looked, about 56% of the residents live in a township, one of the 17 townships. So that's again
more than half. Nearly 60% of our residents live in a township.
Yes, sir.
And they're not going to get the benefit of this funding so far. But I know you've been working hard, and I know Scott Haas. He's he's a fighter too, right? I mean, you guys you're out there banging the drum, or as I would say, the Teflon coating, right?
Indeed.
Teflon. You don't let it stick, man. You get out there and you try to get it done, which is what you're doing.
Yes, we are, and I appreciate all the help from really every township, Scott Haas and Doug Baum and Dan Moore and the Ohio Township Association. We're going to head down to, it's not over. I mean, regardless of the outcome, there's more things to be done. This language needs cleaned up. We'll be working with the Ohio Township Association as an officer of the county association. We'll be heading down to the Ohio Township Association. We'll get the language cleaned up and get all the organizations we need to help us do that. We'll get that done. This can never happen again, this kind of confusion.
No, it can't happen again. So I greatly appreciate you joining us, Mark.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, Mark Schafer, Canton Township Trustee, and we're gonna go ahead and give you the Teflon Award along with Doug Baum and Scott Haas for not letting the stuff that the federal government's not giving to you, which is money. You're working hard to get it. So special recognition to all our township trustees and Mark Schafer and Scott Haas for leading that charge. Hopefully they can get the money back, get the money that they are deserved, millions of dollars. Mark, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks, David. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is David Held. You're listening to News Talk 1480 WHBC. And when we come back, we're going to be talking to the Massillon Mayor, Kathy Catazero Perry, and Pastor Mark Anthony about Crime Stoppers. Stay with us.